morning and welcome to the Choosing the Right Assignment in Study Island webinar. Today you can expect to learn more about Study Island assignments and the different types of assignments that we have. I expect this webinar to last about 30 minutes. However, it is being recorded, so if we run over and you need to leave, feel free to just jump out, and I will be sending you a recording. It takes about 24 hours for that recording to get to you, but once it does, you can watch it and ask any additional questions that you may have. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and move on. And I want to introduce myself to you all, just in case you've never been in a webinar with me. My name is Crystal, and I am a Dallas, Texas native. I live here with my family, and I've lived here pretty much all my life except for when I went to school in Austin, Texas. So if you hear an accent in any way, I apologize. It's just born into me. My mom's a country girl, so it may come out here and there. But if you need me to repeat anything I say, or if I mispronounce something, just charge it to my head, not my heart. So with that said, also I have my bachelor's degree from the University of Texas in Human Development and Family Sciences. There I actually studied social relationships, and I thought that was the path I wanted to go, but I've always been tech-natured at heart, and I've always had a love for the computer, so I ended up at Edmentum, where I got to do a little bit of both. So here at Edmentum, I am a Services Implementation Specialist. That's a long title, but it simply means that I'm here to make sure that your implementation starts off as smoothly as possible, and that through your implementation you can use our tools as a support to you in the classroom. So I'm here to serve you. Here at Edmentum, we do embody this educator first philosophy, which just means we put the educator at the top of our working priority to make sure that you have everything you need in order to teach students. So again, if you have questions, feel free to use the Q&A down here at the bottom of your screen. There is a panel, or you can raise your hand or chat, and I'll answer questions as we go. I'll also be answering questions at the end. I have reserved some time for us. So if you have questions that you want to save at the end, feel free to do that as well. Okay, so I'm going to launch a quick poll to see kind of who you are and what is your role in Study Island. So I just launched a poll, and it says, what is your role in Study Island? So if you could respond back, that would help me a lot. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. And it looks like the majority is an administrator, and we also have a few teachers, just one other teacher. But let's go ahead and get started. Now, I am going to just start with a brief explanation of what Study Island is, so that we're all on the same page as far as starting on solid foundation here. So let's go ahead and move forward. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, I have this question here: what makes Study Island so powerful? And I would like to just kind of give you a brief explanation of Study Island. So Study Island is a standards mastery, question-based formative assessment tool that you use online. So long story short, it is a tool that you can use in your classroom. You definitely don't have to use it. There are a lot of products out there, but what makes Study Island so special is it is designed to assist students from K through 12, and students will master the content specified in their state or Common Core standards to improve performance in the core skill areas through the review of targeted questions. Study Island's high-impact, high-value learning programs provide quality academic support, practice, and real-time assessment data. Students receive immediate feedback and built-in remediation, and then teachers receive actionable data, just allowing them to be able to monitor their students' progress and differentiate instruction. Now, Study Island can be ran in two ways. You can do a self-paced model where students select their own content, or you can do an assignment-based model, which is what we're going to be looking at today, and that's more teacher-directed. And you're able, as a teacher or administrator, whichever one you're functioning under, to provide students with the concepts, skills, and topics, all standards aligned, that they need to be working on. So teachers can easily guide students through the program, communicate expectations, create classes and assignments, which is where we'll be spending our time today. And I'm going to go ahead and move forward so we can talk about our agenda. So this is the Choosing the Right Assignment webinar. So today we are talking about the different types of assignments. I have 3 highlighted here that we're going to make sure we cover. Those are practice and instruction assignments, built test assignments, and group sessions. We do have 2 other assignment types, the writing assignment and the custom material assignment. The reason I'm not going to highlight those today is because, one, they're not really widely used. The writing assignment doesn't have a strong rubric. I will admit that it does not have a strong rubric to support writing in Study Island, so that's why we're not going to cover that today. But if you want your students to use the writing assignment without our rubric, you can do that, and I can answer questions about that if you have them. And then also custom material is just creating your own questions, and that takes some time. More than 30 minutes allots for. So if you do have questions about custom material, I can answer those as well. But for the most part, we'll stick to the practice and instruction, built test, and group sessions. So let's look at those. All right, so I mentioned that there are 3 types of assignments, 3 main types of assignments in Study Island: practice sessions, built test, and group sessions. So I'm going to discuss each of these so that you know the differences between them, and then you can kind of make decisions on which one would be best for your classroom. So in practice and instruction assignments, questions are pulled from a bank at random. So students will log in, they'll see their topic that has been assigned in the practice and instruction assignment, and then from a bank at random, they will get a set amount of questions. Now you set the number of questions, you set the passing percentage, and the goal is for the student to meet that number of questions, meet that passing percentage, and earn a blue ribbon. The blue ribbon indicates that they have passed the topic. So practice mode is offered in both practice and game mode, and they're really the same mode with one obvious difference. Practice mode, the student answers the question. When they get the question correct or incorrect, they get the explanation, and then they move to the next question. Game mode is the same exact thing. They answer the question. If they get it incorrect, they move to the next question, but if they get it correct, students actually get the option to play a game. Now, Study Island isn't a gaming company. We do not allow students to play games just by logging in and just choosing a game to play all day. And of course, we know that students would spend their time there. But what we actually do is we use it as an incentive to motivate the student to get the question correct. So what we typically see is students who do really well in Study Island actually use game mode because they enjoy the game. When they get the question correct, the game is about 45 seconds to 1 minute, and then they're on to their next question. So short bits of relief and motivation. It's kind of like dangling a carrot in front of a really hungry rabbit. If they jump hard enough, or if the student answers the question hard enough and gets it correct, they get to enjoy that few seconds of a game. Our questions are aligned to the standard. So all of our topics are aligned to the standard, and so the question will be over the standard. It'll also, we also have technology enhanced questions where students can use drag and drops, they can use closed questions, we have constructive response questions, things like that, all aligned to the standard. Our practice sessions are supported by the Marzano research study. So if you haven't heard, we did a research study called evidence-based outcomes. And in it, we found that students who use Study Island for 30 minutes per subject per week in practice sessions show growth on their state summative assessments over non-Study Island users. I'll point you to that research. I'll also be sending it to you, but that is something that is supported. Now, practice sessions also allow students to print out worksheets, and you can print out worksheets for your students from practice sessions on your end as well. And basically, you get the random assortment of questions that you can give in an offline activity. The next type of assignment is a built test. And a built test is a test or an assignment, you can use it either way, where you choose the questions that your students are going to work on. So how that works is you go and you create what is called the built test. You go into the grade level and the subject, and then you're given an assortment of questions. Now, you can go question by question and choose the number of questions and the exact question that the student sees. This is different from practice sessions because in practice sessions, again, those questions come to the students at random. In built tests, you're choosing the questions. Built test assignments can only be taken one time. However, you can assign it as many times as you like, whereas practice sessions, students can go into multiple sessions and kind of increase their cumulative score and also see their best score. So if you want a more hardline assignment where students don't really get any feedback exactly, which is what built test does, then you would want to choose a built test. Now, the next type of session is a group session, and this is collaborative practice for small or large groups. How group sessions works is it takes the questions from a practice session or a built test, and it puts those questions in a session where you can project the questions up on a screen, or you can have students use their own device, and it works a lot like clickers. Students will use their device, whether that be a mobile phone, a Chromebook, a laptop, their regular computer, pretty much anything that connects to the internet, except for a Kindle. That's the only one that group sessions isn't supported for. Students will be able to click in the question, the answer to that question. In group sessions, you get real feedback in that moment of how the student answered the question. So it's a great formative assessment tool when you're doing a pre-assessment, if you're doing it during instruction. It just gives you that immediate feedback that you need in that live moment, whereas our other sessions, the student has to actually complete the session before you see that data. So group sessions are a nice tool to have, especially if you need that feedback on the fly. So when would you use these type of sessions? I'm going to go over each of them. Practice and instruction is really nice for independent practice. So students, after they learn a concept, or if they are needing some practice in a concept, you can create them a practice and instruction session and allow them to go in and work on that independently. This can be during station rotation as one of your stations if you don't have one-to-one devices, or if you're not one-to-one and students don't have their own devices, but you do have maybe one computer in the classroom, they can go and work on their practice and instruction assignment. You can also give them a practice and instruction assignment for homework. So if students have devices at home, they can go and you can assign this practice and instruction and give them homework where they're able to practice the questions covered that day in class. You can also give extra credit, and I point out here some suggested topics. So in a student's account, which I'll show you today, you'll see that there's an area called suggested topics. And those suggested topics are topics that students have earned 40% or below on. And because they've earned 40% or below, and that's way below the passing goal, it is a topic that is suggested they get some practice on. Now, the suggested topics are practice and instruction assignments, so that students are able to go in and do them multiple times and get better and better, but they're a great resource for students to have when they don't have anything else to work on or when they've completed work early. Practice and instruction assignments can also be used for challenges. So I mentioned that practice and instruction assignments have blue ribbons, and you can actually set up a blue ribbon challenge where you have your students compete for the most blue ribbons. Additionally, Study Island typically runs some type of blue ribbon challenge for all schools, and you can actually sign up for those challenges with our marketing team, and then you could also see them in the What's New area, the ones that we have. But basically, we reward schools for getting the most blue ribbons. It's usually, I think we've given away some gift cards before. We've given away pizza parties. We've given away a lot of Chromebooks, things like that in those challenges. So if you want your students to compete in challenges, they are practice and instruction assignments. You can sign up for those, and I'll communicate any of those that we have going on at the end of the webinar. Next, we have the NWEA pathways. Now, NWEA is an additional fee. I don't have the prices, but if you're interested at all with NWEA, I can kind of explain how it works. So NWEA is a test that you take, or that your students will take with the company NWEA. And once they get the test completed, you'll receive the results. And those results can actually be put into Study Island to create unique pathways for your students. So students will get assignments tailored to what their NWEA test results have shown. And those topics that are on the pathway comes from the practice and instruction. So from that, you'll be able to see that you can use these practice and instruction assignments at home, and that can be nightly through homework. It could be during summer break if you want them to do independent practice, or holiday breaks if you just want them practicing assignments over the holidays, or even some unexpected snow days. If your students have access to devices at home, you could set up a practice and instruction assignment and give it to them to access at home. Study Island is a program that all you need to do is to be able to log in and get online, and you'll be able to access your work. Another good time to do a practice and instruction assignment is post-instruction. After teaching a lesson, students definitely need practice. Additionally, right before a test, during tutoring, and during any enrichment time. All right. Any questions about that before I move on? All right. Well, if no questions, again, use the Q&A or the chat. I'm going to move on and talk about the reports that you can use to monitor the practice and instruction assignment. So on my screen right now, there are two ways for you to monitor students, but there's actually three. The third one is just on the next slide. So in Study Island, you have the Blue Ribbon Snapshot, which is a tally of your top 5 and bottom 5 Blue Ribbon earners. And again, those blue ribbons are given from the practice and instruction assignments. And so quickly in a snapshot, you can see who is doing really well and earning those blue ribbons associated with that passing goal, and who may need some additional assistance. So on my screen, and I do have some overlap here, just because my class is small, it probably only has maybe 5 students or maybe 10. You'll see Josiah is at the top of the class. He's earning 10, and then Alex is at the bottom, and he has 0. So I can quickly see that Alex, April, and Callie all need some assistance because they haven't been earning blue ribbons. It could also be that they're maybe out and they haven't really started their Study Island. Maybe they're sick, something like that. But I can quickly see who those students are who are not earning the blue ribbons, which means they are not passing. There's also a button there for you to see the full report. This is on your teacher page. So as you go in, you'll see on the teacher page that the blue ribbon snapshot. You can change it for each class here if you needed to. You also have the time spent snapshot. So practice and instruction assignments allow students to it allows you to monitor how much time students are spending on those types of assignments. There's usually a goal set by the administrator based off of that research we found, 30 minutes per subject per week in here. And what you can do from this snapshot is see if your class, see if your class is meeting that goal on average. So your goal may be to make sure that your students are at least hitting that weekly goal set by your administrator, and that is an average there. We also have the class gradebook and the assignment report. These two reports are just two of the many reports we have, but these are the most common that you would want to use. The class gradebook report will show you by class or by the students in your class who is performing, how students are performing on those topics. So it's a really nice report to look at. Also, the assignment report is a report for any assignments you have created. It also shows you if you select certain topics and don't want to see all the topics in the assignment report just tailors your report to show results for the assignments you have created. Also, we have Sensei, so the data from those, your practice and instruction assignments go into Sensei, and Sensei is a way for you to easily monitor and track students. So you'll see on my screen that I have some color codes. I'm looking at topics for reading, and these color codes indicate something for you. You can always look in the quick guide to see what those are. I apologize, my mouse is right-clicking on its own, but you'll see here that I have a blue, which basically means that topic is in progress with most of my students. I can see the number of blue ribbons earned, so that's 3. This green here means that a majority of my students have passed the topic. There are percentages related to that. I believe it's 90% have attempted, and 70% of those who have attempted has earned the blue ribbon. So I have 5 students in that category. And then this red here means that at least 70% of my students have attempted that topic. And of those 70%, I believe it's 30 or 40% have not earned the blue ribbon. So you'll see only one of my students have it. I can see parts of the sentence is the topic, so I could easily drill down into this Sensei screen. And I actually recommend you join us on the Data-Driven Instruction webinar, which covers Sensei in depth. But I can drill down and see who the students are that are having trouble. And if you're interested at all in that, after our meeting today, we can talk one-on-one about it. And then this green with a star here means that all of my students have mastered that topic, so I can quickly see rhyming words as a topic where I can kind of move on because my students are mastering. So Sensei is a nice dashboard that can keep you up to date on your practice and instruction assignments. The next assignment we have is built test. I've already explained kind of what built tests are. They're the questions, or they're the assignments where you choose your questions. Students will all have the exact same questions, and the session can only be taken once, but you can assign the built test multiple times. This is a great assignment if you want to give your students a grade or you need to test what they know. The great thing about this assignment is that you can use a few reports like item analysis, where you can see question by question who got the question correct and who got it incorrect. You can also use this assignment if you want to be able to give a built test of another version of this test for your students and then compare the data. So you can create 3 tests and be able, actually up to 5 tests, the same kind of version of that built test, and then compare those test scores one to the other. You can also use built test if you want to share your assignment with other teachers or schools. So say, for instance, you create a diagnostic, a benchmark, or a common assessment, and you want to share that with other teachers, other administrators, other schools. You can do that. Even share it with a district. It's a great tool to use to be able to create one assignment and kind of in a PLC and pass it along. And then finally, again, what I want to say about built test, you can pick the question. So, and these questions that you pick, you can actually use them in a group session. So grade assignments for these are your pre-assessments, your quizzes, your homeworks, your benchmarks, and your post-assessment. And even regular assignments, if you just want to be able to pick the questions for your students, then use a built test. You don't have to call it a test. You can call it whatever you want your students to see. Now, this is the built test report. You'll see on it that it shows when this item was completed. It shows the correct and incorrect answer. It also shows the percentage, and up here I see my topic and the number of questions that I chose. I also see the other topic and another question I chose. And if I click on the correct answer, there's students in this column. I can see what the student got correct, what the student got incorrect, and I can see their whole test and their percentage. I can also see the total here at the bottom if I want to see how my class did all together. So I can tell that 30% of my students got compare and contrast incorrect, or they got 30% correct, and it was only 4 questions, so that might be something I need to cover in depth a little bit more. Same for point of view. Maybe this was a pre-assessment, maybe it was a post-assessment, but I can definitely see that only 55% of my students are understanding that. And in total, we have a 43%. It shows you the standard here if you need to look back at what that standard is. Along with the built test report, there is that item analysis report. I can see question by question, and if I click on the question, I can actually see the question that the student got. But I can see, if I go into that question number 7, what the correct answer was. I can look at the explanation, and I can see the students who got it correct and incorrect. So if I want to cover that question again, or if I want my students to go over it, if I want to go over it in class, I can just pull that question up, hide this area, and have my students talk through it with my students. Additionally, I mentioned that you can compare tests from one built test to another. If I had 2 tests like this one, Demo 1 and Demo 2, I could see how my students did on their first test comparatively to their second test. Keep in mind, you can choose the number of questions. So mine's here was just a demo, so I just picked 5. I really didn't remember, but I can see from one test to another if my students have grasped what I've been teaching maybe over a few weeks. Finally, we have the group session, and the group session you can use at differing points of your instruction. You can use it during a pre-assessment, you can use it during actual instruction. And again, how this works is your students, or on your screen, your students will see your question. They'll log in on their own device and answer the question that you have on the board, and you'll be able to see their results. Now, this is a great for pre-assessment or bell ringer because you can select maybe a few questions, 2 or 3, 4 or 5, and have your students kind of just read the question and kind of see. You can kind of gauge how they're doing in real time to see, you know, what the students know, how you'll need to differentiate, things like that. This is great for if you want to plan out future or further instruction, if you need to access, if you want to assess what kinds of questions your students need help with, to determine if your instruction on a lesson is resonating. So if you're using it during instruction to see if your students are grasping what you're teaching. It's also good for you to be able to identify gaps for certain students and to differentiate and create groups. Now, group sessions is for whole group instruction, so definitely use it as you have your students all at, or a small group, but as you have your students, as you're formatively assessing your students all at once, it is a great tool to use. It's really the ultimate formative assessment tool, and it's really good if you need to know on the fly how your students are doing. The group session results look something like this. So you'll see, it looks exactly like this. You'll see question by question, the students who got the question correct, students who got the question incorrect, indicated by the X. I can quickly see that all my students did number 5 well. So maybe I was teaching and along the way, students weren't doing really well. They weren't really understanding it. And then as we got to question number 5, I taught it in a different way and all students got it correct. Or it could have been that question type was different from all these other questions that I had selected. And so students really got it on question 5. Maybe that was an easier version of the question, but I need to kind of teach them up to these other questions. The group session results after the student finishes or the student complete the session also are available to you. You'll see here in the demo that I have an item analysis of the group session. I can see question by question who got the students correct. It looks a lot like the item analysis. Looks a lot like the item analysis that students see that you saw in the built test, because the built test and the group sessions can work in unison with each other. Okay, so with that said, now I can move to, do we have any questions about what I've delivered today? You may be wondering how to create these type of assignments. I do go over that in another webinar. I didn't go over it today because they're really easy to do, to be honest. It would have taken more time for me to walk you through it and be able to deliver both. So I'm going to send you the videos and also show you this Walk Me tool that kind of walks you through how to do all of it. Let's just pull that up if my buttons today will cooperate. I'm going to pull that on the screen. Feel free to use the Q&A for your questions. We're pretty much done other than the help and support section. So I want to show you all my screen, but my mouse is not responding to what I'm doing. There we are. I'm going to log in as a teacher so I can kind of show you. All right, so all of these can be created, and you can actually be walked through how to do it without watching the video. If you click this Help Center button here, and you go to Help, there is this How-To area, and it walks you through creating an assignment, creating a built test. This assignment is the practice and instruction, and then the built test and the group session. Now, one thing I didn't say, but I do want to mention, is that creating all these assignments does require creating a class. So if you don't have any classes created, do this one first, create the class, and then you can come back and create the assignment. When I click on this, it begins walking me through. Click Add New Class. So it will walk you through how to do everything here. If walkthrough isn't what you'd like, there are, in this Getting Started area, video tutorials. And then the last place that I want to leave you off with, I know we're running over 3 minutes, I apologize, but feel free to jump off if needed. This Help Center button, not this Help Center button, this Live Support button here allows you to chat into our support team. So our support team is available from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can chat in during those hours if you have a question, if you're in class, anything like that. You can chat that question in here and you'll be connected to a support agent. You can also give us a call. You'll see here that we have the phone number listed for support. If you're interested in anything in sales like NWEA, you can contact sales. And then also we have the email option. So if neither one of these methods work for you, if you're an email person or if you don't have time to be on the phone or to chat, you can send us an email. I can tell you the support email turnaround time is about 48 hours, give or take the time of year. And back to school season is we're still in that season. And so it might be a little longer, but so if you have something urgent, do call or chat. But if not, you can send in, go to support. And then the last piece of information that I want to share with you is my contact information. So my email is here at the bottom of the screen. If you have questions, I can't help you with the support questions, but I can definitely help you with the implementation questions that you have. Feel free to jot that down and reach out to me if you need some assistance. I'm here to help you. I'm here to make sure your implementation goes smoothly as possible. If you just want me to hold your hand through creating a class, creating an assignment, I can definitely do that as well. Just send me over an email and I'll reach out to you. Doesn't look like we have any questions, so I want to just thank you for joining. Thank you for being with me today and spending 35 minutes with me today. I promise next time it will be a little shorter. Also, sign up for any webinars like differentiated instruction, data-driven instruction. We have those coming up. If you have any other Edmentum products like Edmentum courseware, we have an instructor orientation going on, and we also have a Reading Eggs webinars coming up. So feel free to sign up for those as well. You will be receiving a recording 24 hours but after our meeting today. Have a wonderful Thursday. Thursday? Yes. Have a wonderful Thursday. Bye, guys.